This session will deal with the secondary sources available through Thomson Reuters Westlaw. While secondary resources are not official documents that can be cited in court, they can be extremely useful in finding primary sources such as relevant cases, as well as statutes and regulations. They also can lead to other secondary sources. One of the first secondary sources people encounter would be legal dictionaries. Probably the best known is Black's Law Dictionary. To get to Black's Law Dictionary from the Thomson Reuters Westlaw homepage, select Secondary Sources. And off to the right side, you'll see Black's Law Dictionary. And if I put in a term, and again, I'll use domestic violence. Notice it comes up with domestic violence, see violence. If I look at violence, I can see where domestic violence shows up, and it also shows me some related terms and other places I can look for information. Going back to the beginning again, and back to secondary sources. And the next thing we're going to look at are legal encyclopedias. They provide an overview of a particular point of law. They'll reference both the primary and secondary sources related to that point of law. Through Thomson Reuters Westlaw, you can access Corpus Juris Secundum and American Jurisprudence Second. They are both under the secondary sources page. There are some differences between the two. CJS provides more comprehensive reference to case law. AmJur's Second does not try to be comprehensive on case law, instead choosing the best references according to their editors. AmJur also includes more references to statutes and regulations. So if I go to Corpus Juris Secundum and I type in domestic violence, notice it comes up a few hundred times in this particular legal encyclopedia, but I want to point out as I keep going down, particularly on the one I'm looking at here, we have domestic as part of the title here, and if I click on this one, it shows me additional information. It shows me cases related to this, and also will indicate if there are things in other places where I can find more information. If I look to the left side, I see domestic abuse and violence actually is a volume in the Corpus Juris Secundum, and I can expand that. And here I get some of the parts that relate to that. So if I wanted to know about protected persons, here would be some subsections, including the one we were looking at that relates to protected people. I'm going back to the secondary sources, and this time I'm going to look at AmJur's, or American Jurisprudence. And I'm going to see here if domestic violence comes up. And notice AmJur's also has a domestic violence volume. And again, I have different sections and ideas I can look at on the left side. So look down the middle, I've got some other information that could be useful, including footnotes. There is another kind of secondary source that is not available electronically, and that is a case digest. It serves two purposes. It serves as a subject index to court cases in that jurisdiction, and it provides summaries of points of law. Because case digests are Thomson Reuters Westlaw products, they use the key number system for organizing the subjects. Included in the series are descriptive word indices, words and phrases indices, and the table of cases. Previously, Missouri Western received the Missouri Digest and the Supreme Court Digest. Missouri Western no longer subscribes to the digests. Our subscription ended in 2019. Do not use them if you are looking for current information. Another area of secondary sources we can look at are law reviews and journals. They provide an overview of legal topics, sometimes advocating for a particular change. The main articles are written by legal professionals such as lawyers, judges, law professors, and other legal scholars. Students write shorter articles called notes or comments. Law reviews are edited by students, usually some of the top students in the legal program. The material in law reviews can be very important as they provide extensive citation of both primary and secondary sources related to the point of law being written about. Using Thomson Reuters Westlaw, click on secondary sources and then law reviews and journals. Law reviews published by particular universities tend to deal more with issues that affect their state. So if I do domestic violence here, and I'm going to narrow it by adding a few more words. Notice we've reached the limit of 10,000. As I've said before, there may be many more than 10,000. It's only looking at the first 10,000. If there are other items in the group beyond the 10,000, I am not seeing those and will not be able to look at them. What I may want to do instead of just doing that, what I can do is I can limit to Missouri and then put in my search, domestic violence, and life, and injury, and notice even when we limit to Missouri, we came up with almost 5,000 items. Off to the side, you'll notice we can limit by jurisdiction. If we wanted to, we can select a publication name. And as I look here, you'll notice that there are a lot of things coming from the UMKC Law Review, the Washington University Law Quarterly, and the Washington University Law Review. I could limit to that, or I could continue to look at this, and I could put in other terms to narrow this. If I click on Federal Law Review, notice I pulled up about 3,000 items here that relate to the federal law reviews. If I click on any of these, it will actually take me to that law review article itself. And as I look through the article, I see little footnotes that are telling me I can find additional information. If I go down to the very bottom, there are those footnotes. And again, if it's something there that is highlighted, I can go then to that particular source. Another type of secondary source that is particular to Missouri is the Missouri Practice Series. And it is what it sounds like. It's written by lawyers for other lawyers who are practicing in the state of Missouri. If I click on the Practice Series, I can search the whole practice series, or I can come over here and look at particular indexes. So for example, if I go to the landlord-tenant index and type in domestic violence, I see here that I'm dealing with the idea of paying rent when I'm a victim of domestic violence. If I click on domestic violence, notice I've got a section here, and if I click on that, it takes me to that particular entry and shows me where it's in VAMs and other places. There are some other types of secondary sources, including American law reports, treaties, and restatements of law. As these are used less frequently, we will not go in depth on their use in the Introduction to Legal Research series.